service providers refine their positioning and their messaging after a pivot, a new offer, or even a price increase so that selling feels easier and more natural. And if you saw my live on Instagram, I was sharing kind of my experience as a service provider and online business owner and how this has really helped me with my offers and my business. So, Melissa, we are super excited to have you today. I appreciate your
Thank
time
you.
and you just pouring into our community and our members with me. So, go ahead and introduce yourself. What do you
Mhm.
do and how did you get started?
Sure. Thank you so much for having me. Like you said, I am a brand messaging and positioning strategist. And I started as a web designer. I was completely self-taught. And when I first started, had no clue what I was doing, like many of us, but I'm very much a just jump in and figure it out type of person. So that's what I did. And it didn't take me long before I realized that creating pretty, beautiful, great looking websites for people was really not enough because without strong, clear, specific messaging that speaks to the right person behind that design, then a pretty website isn't going to really do much for you because it's the message that is going to do the converting. That's what's going to speak to people. And so that's when I really got into learning more about things like brand strategy and messaging and positioning and have really transitioned more over to helping with that. I occasionally pick up web design projects, and when I do, I always start with messaging first because that's just so important. But so yeah, now I do messaging and positioning for people, and I love getting to dig into their business and pull out all of those things about what makes them unique and amazing and help them create messaging that actually works and converts. So I
I
will go
love that. Yeah,
ahead. Okay.
I had muted myself real quick. Sorry.
Okay.
Yes, I love that. And, I believe that you're able to really sell your business in a way that brings in higher level clients when you're able to actually speak to them and their pain
Hmm.
points and you have a better idea
For
of who your
sure.
dream client is. And we
Hmm.
talk about that a lot in our membership. So I know some of our members are really familiar with that. So if you have any questions, drop those in the chat. If you're joining us from YouTube or if you're joining us from Riverside, just let us know where you're joining us from and let us know what kind of questions you have as Melissa is going through this training. We will answer questions towards the end. And if you are a Grow and Flourish Inner Circle member, meaning you are a $49 member of ours, then we're going to open the floor for Q&A at the end where you actually get to hop on live with us and ask your burning business questions to Melissa. So just pop your questions below and we'll answer those questions towards the end of the call. And I'm going to let Melissa take it away.
Okay. Thank you so much. I'm so excited. And I will let you know that I do have a 3-year-old here with me. I am trying to provide her with lots of snacks so that she hopefully stays, happy, but we'll see what happens here. I'm sure a lot
It's
of you
all
can
good.
relate if you are moms. So yes, we are going to talk about your best buyer because speaking to that higher level buyer is you speak to them differently than you do somebody who is maybe DIYing their business still, or they are really stuck in like struggle mode and not really ready to really invest in getting out of that, or maybe they are just in the beginning earlier stages of their business and not quite ready for that higher level of support. So just depending on who your ideal client is and who you want to bring into your offers, the way you speak to them in your messaging is going to change a little bit. So that's what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about some positioning shifts that help you attract those higher level buyers and change who you're attracting so that more of your sales calls are ending in yes instead of in hesitation or price pushback or even ghosting you, because I am sure we have all dealt with that before. So this is not about necessarily getting more leads, although it can and does help with that, but it's bringing in the right leads. You want the right ones coming into your business, people who don't need convincing, are already sold on the value of what you offer and are already ready to buy. They're not price shopping, they're not hesitant or indecisive, but they are ready. So if you are bringing in leads, but you're hearing things like, I need to think about it, I'm looking at some other options, so I'll get back with you. Can you send me more details? I think this is out of my price range. I can't afford it. Or even they're ghosting you after the call. It's likely because of one or more of several positioning gaps. So if we define positioning real quickly, that is the context your buyer uses to decide whether your work is for them and whether it's worth it before they ever get on a call with you. So it's how they understand what you do, who it's for, why it's different. So it's just that perspective, that lens that they're seeing that through. So one of the gaps that may be happening is in the outcome. If the outcome of what you're offering and what you're speaking to, the result that you provide is vague or unclear, they will hesitate. They're not going to clearly see what this will do for them. You need to have outcomes that are very clear, very specific, tied to a specific problem that you solve and that they want solved and are willing to pay for. And it just needs to be very clear for them. Don't be afraid to be bold in your outcome. Obviously, you're not going to say that, I can guarantee that you're going to make this amount of money or guarantee that you're going to, do this. You're not going to, do unethical things like that or speak to that. But don't be afraid to be bold. Look at who your best clients have been, the people who have come in ready, they've done the work, they've been in the right spot, ready for your help. What kind of results have they gotten? What kind of results can you speak to that you can help the right person achieve? You're not going to be speaking here to people who may not do the work, may not quite be ready. You're going to be speaking to that best buyer who is ready to get those results. The next gap is the buyer stage. Sometimes we accidentally, as we grow, we accidentally revert to speaking back to maybe a previous ideal client, somebody who is an earlier stage in business, somebody who is still DIYing. Maybe we're speaking more to pain points and attracting people who are stuck and not quite motivated to invest to get out of that stuck place. So making sure you're speaking to the right buyer stage is really important. So it's not super broad. You need to clearly define who you're speaking to. Otherwise, you're going to attract mixed readiness. Some people who are ready, some people who are not. You may attract beginners, people who are still deciding whether they even need this, instead of the level of premium ready to buy clients you actually want. You need to be speaking to people who are taking action, who are actively working towards growing and investing in support in their business. Higher level buyers aren't looking to be rescued. They're not focused on the pain points. Yes, you need to speak to the problem and let them know that you understand where they're at, but focus on where you can take them. That's what they're focused on. They're focused on their future and where they're going and how they can get there. So they are looking to refine and optimize. So if your message is still speaking to struggle, you're going to attract those people who are stuck in survival mode. And then gap 3 is differentiation. If your differentiation, what makes you different and unique from everybody else out there isn't clear, that's when they're going to compare you to other people. That's when they're going to price shop and say, oh, she does this cheaper, I'm going to go with this person. When in reality, you and your offer is probably more valuable and going to get them to where they want to go faster. But if it's not clear what makes you different and what makes you unique and what you do differently, what gap you're feeling in the market, then they're going to compare. And if they compare, they delay and say, I'll think about it, I'll come back. And if they delay, they often disappear, they go with someone else, they ghost, they say they can't afford it. A lot of times that say they can't afford it objection is not always about the price. Sometimes it is, but a lot of times it's because they're not seeing the value and what makes you different and why they should go with you over anyone else out there. And as your work elevates, your buyer changes over time. And if you're not careful, you'll accidentally speak to the people who you aren't wanting to attract anymore. If you're wanting to speak, elevate and speak to a higher level ideal client and bring those in, then you need to make sure that your positioning and your messaging is elevating with your ideal client. Otherwise, you get friction and your sales suffer. So just take a minute to think about, if you are attracting people who are ready, are they coming in ready to buy, ready to move forward? Or are you often attracting people who are still deciding, who are hesitant, who can't afford it, or who ghost you? And just take kind of a minute to think about the people that you've been bringing in and which category those are, because that's going to tell you if maybe you might have a one of these gaps that needs to be filled. And then if somebody does hesitate on a call or decide not to move forward with you, what do you think is usually happening for you? Think about if maybe you need to get even more clear on and specific on your outcome, what result you're providing. Maybe you need to get more clear on the buyer stage and where your ideal client is in their journey. Or maybe you need to get more clear on your differentiation and what makes you different and unique than everybody else out there and why they should choose you. And this is one thing that is super hard to see for yourself. It's really hard to see what makes ourselves unique. And sometimes you need somebody else, an outside perspective, to really pull that out of you. And as you're talking about what you do, they look at that and be like, "Are you speaking to this? This is amazing." And you're like, "Wait, no, I haven't really talked about that much." And you realize, oh, wait, that is different. That is amazing. That's something that nobody else is doing. Why am I not speaking to that? If you can tell, I've had somebody do this for me before, and it's amazing what an outside perspective can do for you and help you with that. So oftentimes, like I said, it's not about the price at all. Have you ever had someone tell you that they can't afford you, and then they go on to buy something from somebody else that might even be more expensive? That is a positioning gap. There is something that you weren't able to speak to. They couldn't clearly see how this offer solved their specific problem and would get them to the results that they want, because maybe your outcome wasn't specific enough, or they couldn't see your differentiation. So there's often an unmet need, an unanswered question, an unresolved objection, an unclear outcome, or they're just not the right stage buyer. They're not quite at the stage where they're ready for that kind of work. So what changes when you make this shift, when you get really clear on these things and your messaging speaks to these things and to the right person, your best buyer? So you will book more calls more consistently. People are going to come in already knowing that they want this, that they want to work with you. You're no longer feeling like you have to convince people or have to do lots of explaining or justify your prices. Decisions will happen faster, less hesitation, fewer "I need to think about it" endings. Your revenue feels more steady and consistent, and your business feels more predictable. So I am sure that most of us, that is what we want. We want our business to be steady, predictable, our revenue to be consistent. And this also means, I had a train of thought that I lost. Um, I'll keep going because I'm not sure if I can pick it back up. But so how different would your business feel if your messaging and positioning did the pre-qualifying for you? If your messaging was consistently bringing in those right fit, ready to buy ideal clients, what would that do for your business? I want to talk just briefly about one of my clients when we worked together on this. She had been in business for several years. Her name was Sarah. And she had amazing testimonials from her clients. She had proof that her offer was amazing. But she knew that over the years, as she had grown and her business had grown and elevated, but her messaging hadn't, she felt like her messaging was really muddled. It had kind of gotten just all muddled with trying to figure out who she was speaking to now. And she just knew that if it was kind of fell that way for her, that it was confusing her ideal clients. It had gotten a lot more broad over time, and then she was attracting different levels of people, different mixed readiness. A lot of the people coming in were not really ideal clients and people she wanted to work with. So she really hadn't updated her messaging and positioning as her business had grown. So she knew she needed to get it dialed in, but didn't have the brain space to make it better. So I took her through my process. We got really super clear on exactly who she wanted to work with. We got more specific, more clear about the outcome her offer provides. We talked about specifically what makes her different than others in the industry. We looked at the gaps in the industry that her offer was filling. And we positioned her messaging to speak to the specific buyer that she wanted to bring in, what they were looking for. And then she stopped feeling so scattered in how she was speaking about her work because it was all dialed in and clear. And after going through that process, she came back and told me, she's like, I've got a really clear idea of how my brand and message will be used to reach my ideal client now. She said she has so many ideas for social media posts, for podcast content, and to know exactly how to and connect to the right people. And I that just got me really excited because I love that um th- all the outcome of that and how it really does make a big difference in who you're speaking to and who you're bringing in. But it also does make creating content and messaging for those people a whole lot easier if you know exactly who it is, exactly what makes you different, exactly what outcome you're speaking to. That just makes it so much easier. But this is where most business owners hit a wall because it's really impossible to see your own positioning clearly from inside your own business. And I'm saying this as a brand messaging and positioning expert. Like, it is hard for me to see it for myself. It's hard for everybody to see it from inside your own business. It's easy to miss where your own messaging is not quite clear, or speak if it's speaking to an earlier stage buyer. And then you wonder why you keep attracting people who need more convincing than they should, or who hesitate or ghost or say they can't afford you. This is so much easier to see for other people than it is yourself. But if I'm being honest, you probably don't need to post more. You don't need better content or better hooks, or even to get better at handling objections. Most of you, if you have been in business for a while and been doing this for a while, you are good at writing content. You are good at handling objections. You are good at selling your offer. But what really needs to happen is getting super dialed in and nailing down that messaging so it's speaking to your best buyer. That's the thing that needs to shift for most of us. I'm just getting really clear on that. And it doesn't take huge overhauls most of the time. It takes tweaks here and there and having someone see this is where you're speaking to somebody else. This is where we can elevate your message. This is where we can point out what makes you different. So I want to share that I do have two offers for you. One of them is a free message optimization call. And on this optimization call, we'll take a look at what the gap is between your current messaging and positioning and the ready buyer that you want to attract. So we'll see what is missing in there and pinpoint and identify that for you. It's going to help you get clear on what's causing inconsistency in your business, whether that's message clarity, or it's buyer alignment, it's offer positioning, maybe it's the outcome or the differentiation or something else. We'll take a look at that and pinpoint that so that you can know exactly what you need to work on going forward. So that is my free message optimization call. If you would like that, feel free to reach out to me. You can send me a message in the Grow and Flourish community, or you can send me a message, Melissa Mackey, on Facebook or Instagram. The other offer is for my 4-week messaging and positioning intensive. If you know that this is something that you want to work on in your business so that you can start attracting and bringing in the right buyer into your offer, the buyers who are ready to buy, who already know that they want to work with you, we will fix these gaps and help more of your calls end in yes instead of I need to think about it, or instead of ghosting. But my work is based on what I call position driven messaging. So it's my clarity first approach to brand strategy and communication. It's built on the belief that messaging problems are almost always positioning problems in disguise. Most of us don't need to learn how to write better content. We just need to position our offers in the minds of the buyers so it becomes a heck yes to them and not something that they can compare to other offers out there. But once your positioning is clear, your message will naturally connect, build trust, and convert with far less effort. So we work on this in 4 weeks. We get really clear on defining who your best buyer is for your offer. We sharpen the outcome for your offer. We clarify your differentiation and what makes you unique. And then we align how you talk about it moving forward. And we bring that all together. So your website, your content, your sales, conversations, your emails are all reflecting your positioning consistently and speaking to your best buyer. So, unlike other messaging or copywriting programs, we're not fixing your messaging in isolation, but we're really realigning that positioning for your right fit, ready buyer. So, your message filters better, objections decrease naturally, and you bring more of the right people into your offer that see you as the one they need. So, I would love for that's something you're interested in, send me a DM about that. The investment for that intensive is $1,800, and I have a couple of spots open right now. So if you feel like that is a good fit for you and you're ready to start bringing in those more right fit ready clients with your messaging, I'd love to help. Just send me a message. Well, that is my training, what I have for you. We talked about the 3 gaps that I typically see, the gap of unclear or vague outcomes, the gap of not being super clear on the buyer stage, and your differentiation, not being super clear on what makes you different and speaking to that in your messaging. Now, I would love to open it up for questions. Heather, did you have anything you wanted to add while I'm looking?
Yeah, I'm gonna add a couple of things because, being a business growth strategist, I have seen this in a lot of my clients. And most women or business owners are, it's not that you aren't smart or that you aren't capable. It's just you're usually
Correct.
trying to do too many things at one time, things that
Mm-hmm.
are not your zone of genius, that you are not an expert and trained in. And you are good at what you do. You're not always so great at the marketing, the tech, the back end, all the things that come with that process or
Mm-hmm.
with that role that you have. And so a lot of the things that you said that resonated with me is, one, we're too close to our own work. We know the process, we know our results, we know the steps that we're taking to
Mm-hmm.
provide a service to our clients. But instead of just simplifying everything and going back to what's not working, we tend to have issues around mindset and strategy and systems and
Mm-hmm.
growth when what you actually may need is better positioning, like what you said.
Mm-hmm.
And then I
I
feel
think a lot
like
of times we overthink it for ourselves too, and then we're not like sure, like, should I speak to this? Should I say this? Because we overthink it because we're too close to it and we want to get it right.
absolutely. And then the other thing that I see a lot, like 90% of the clients that come to me that aren't making sales in their business, it's because they're trying to help everybody. And I
Hmm.
keep trying to tell them, if you're helping everybody, you're
Yep,
actually helping nobody. You cannot
exactly.
have a message that serves and provides a service for every single person. You're going to be attracting people at different levels. You're going to be attracting people who then end up getting mixed results because you're not specialized in that one area.
Hmm.
And then your sales are going to feel inconsistent because you're constantly talking to people around various perspectives and
Hmm.
situations, right? So the clear positioning that you were talking about is actually going to help them get more of those aligned clients and be able to
For
help them
sure.
with that one problem. And it
Hmm.
took me time to learn that as well. And it
Hmm.
sounds like it did for you too. So it's not something that we're all just born with. Oh, okay, we know what our positioning
Hmm.
is. We're going to go for it. It takes
And it
trial and
changes
error
over time in your
sometimes.
business like I said, as your business grows and elevates, your ideal client will grow and elevate. The outcome you provide and are able to get for them is going to also grow and elevate. So you do need to go back and relook at this occasionally and make sure that you are continuing to grow and elevate your messaging and your positioning as your business is growing as well.
Yeah. And then another thing that you mentioned earlier was not focusing really, I don't think you use this word, but I use it, is the transformation. That you're
The
selling
outcome.
a
Hmm.
product or a service
Hmm.
and you're telling them what they get within that product or service, but you're not selling the result. You're not selling the
Exactly. Hmm.
transformation. And so For an example, if you're talking about the number of calls that are included with a membership, but you're not talking about the outcome, what they're going to
Hmm.
see after they join the
What is that going
membership,
to do
that's
for
two
them?
different
Hmm.
things.
Yep.
Yeah. And so
And
we
really,
talk
one
about
thing
this a
that I
lot.
tell people a lot is, my clients is, your clients are thinking, even if they're not like actively thinking this, it's in the back of their mind subconsciously. They're thinking, what's in it for me? Why should I care? Why do I care about this? And if you're not speaking to that, what's in it for them and what they get out of it and what that transformation, that outcome is going to be for them, then that's what they care about is what will this do for me? So I remind my clients often to keep that in mind when you're writing and when you're speaking to things, to speak to that outcome, because that's what they care about.
Yeah. I think sometimes I'm finding that businesses or people are not speaking to that exact transformation because they
Hmm.
haven't done the work to identify what that exact
Hmm.
transformation is.
Hmm. Yeah.
So there's a lot of foundational work that comes into play for any type of business, but specifically a service-based business that is solving a before and then providing an after, right?
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
you have to know yourself and have done that internal work of outlining, okay, what am I actually doing to serve this client? What are they dealing with before I work with them? What are they going to see after I work
Hmm.
with them? And how do I bridge that gap and help them
Yeah.
understand that gap?
Hmm.
And again, I think it comes to like you have to be able to write it out, talk about it, and then like you mentioned earlier, having somebody who can coach you through that, because we all do great work, but it's hard to be our own coach. We need somebody
Hmm.
with an outside perspective, like you
Yeah.
said, that's able to look in and say, well, this is what I see that is probably not resonating with your
Hmm.
audience. So
Yeah.
I love how you mentioned each of these core issues with messaging
Hmm.
and positioning, because I do feel like it doesn't matter if you are a new business or a seasoned business. At some point, your business is going to pivot. Your
Hmm.
offers are going to change. Your
Yeah.
products are going to change. I was just listening to a YouTube training a second ago, and she was talking about how to name your offers, how to name your,
Hmm.
whether it's a membership or a product or a business name. She was talking about naming, right? And the process that she uses. And she was saying that, for example, you've got Burlington Coat Factory. I think she
Hmm.
said their tagline right now is more than coats. Well, when they first named their business, Burlington Coat Factory, they only had coats. Well, they didn't
Hmm.
think about that growth. And
Right.
so
Yeah.
now, in order to like share that they are actually more than coats, they have to add it to their
Hmm.
tagline.
Because it's a lot harder to
So,
change your business name at this point. Like that's.
right. And but she gave like a whole list of examples
Hmm.
of businesses that started off one way and have grown. And that just
Hmm.
shows you like how much we can change, right?
For
So
sure.
I'm going to open
Yeah.
the floor for some other questions. Um, let's see. If you are watching us and you are a member and you want to hop on screen and unmute and unmic and ask Melissa some questions that are specific to your business, just let me know in the chat. I know that we have a couple of y'all that are kind of on screen but off screen to the side, and so I can pull you up if you're interested. That's kind of a unique perk to being a member with us, as you get those hot seat Q&A moments with our expert speakers. So let's see. And while we're waiting on that, I've got a couple of questions that had been submitted to prior. Let's see.
Sure.
Okay. So this question is from someone who just raised her prices. She says she has the results, she has the experience. She recently increased her prices to reflect her increased experience.
Hmm.
Her sales have slowed down, and she understands that her messaging is not landing the same. Her question is, how does she know what needs to shift in her messaging so that it matches that new experience level that she's at
Hmm.
and attracts buyers who are ready to invest right then on a call. I feel like you
This is
covered that in the
something that
training, so it's probably a
is,
little bit repeat.
yes. Yeah, that's okay. This is something that is so common, so don't feel like you're alone because this happens to almost everybody, and it's an exciting time in your business, but I'm glad that you brought this up because it really is something that you have to be intentional about in order to fix that. So I would look at like the three things that I said. I would look at your outcome. What outcome are you speaking to, that transformation? And make sure that it's not vague or unclear. Make sure it's super specific, that it's related to the main problem that you solve, that it's actionable, easy to understand, something that they actually want and will pay money for, like something that is a must have, need to have, not just a nice to have. And so just look at that and see if there's a way you can make that even more clear. And then look at the buyer stage, who you're wanting to bring in. So it's more than just like knowing or having an ideal client avatar, but you really need to be really clear on what are they bringing to the table. What have they already tried before? What have they already done before? What have they already accomplished? And what are they working towards? And what problem are they solving? Because if you raise prices because your business has grown, a lot of times your ideal client has grown as well. And if you're not continuing to speak to those higher level ideal clients, then we often accidentally revert back to speaking to maybe the previous ideal clients that we were bringing in when our prices were lower or when we were newer to our business. So I would look at that and just making sure that you're speaking more to where they're going than you are to their struggle and their pain. Because higher level, like I said in the training, level clients aren't looking to be rescued. They're not stuck, but they're refining and elevating, and they want things to be better. And so speak to where they're going and where you can take them. And then look at differentiation. What makes you different? Are you clearly speaking to that as well? What makes you unique from everybody else out there, and what do you do differently? Why should they choose you? So those are the three things I would look at, but feel free to, like I said, book that message optimization call with me because I can help you look at that too, and I can with your specific messaging and your specific business, I can kind of look at that and see if we can help you identify those gaps as well.
That's great. Thank you for answering that, Melissa. I've got another one. Now, this one's a lot more specific, this question.
Hmm.
She gives us a little bit more information about her business. So, she is a brand photographer. She posts consistently as far as like reels, Instagram, social media. She shares a lot of behind the scenes content.
Hmm.
She shares tips on lighting, poses, confidence, building confidence, tips. She says that her problem is she has fewer inquiries that turn into bookings,
Hmm.
and she seems to be attracting the beginners and the hobbyists instead
Hmm.
of the business owners. And she is trying to like focus on that brand
Hmm.
headshot, team branding, things like
Okay.
that. So she wants to book the premium brand sessions. She wants to work with established business owners that have the
Hmm.
funding to invest. Her question is, how can I shift my messaging so that my content is attracting those business owners that are ready to invest in branding instead of the beginners that are just
Hmm.
watching for tips?
Okay. So I would say this probably sounds like a buyer stage problem. So I would look at making sure that your message is speaking to that premium buyer. And a lot of times this is really hard to see for ourselves. But an outside perspective can see, okay, this is where you're speaking to an earlier stage person. This is why you're bringing them in. But like I've said, those earlier stage buyers are often feeling stuck. They're looking for like free tips and advice and educational type content. But the premium buyers aren't looking for that premium, or they're looking for they're action taker. They're looking for someone to come alongside and support them to get them where they want to go, which with a photography business, that's a little bit different than like a business coach or a health coach, or those outcomes are a little bit different. And I think it's probably really easy to also speak to the deliverables, but you can still have a outcome of what are those photos going to do for them. What if they book a brand photo shoot with you? What is that going to do for them? What outcome, result, transformation will that give them? And making sure you're speaking to that, speaking to where they want to go. And then also with photography, I think getting really clear on what makes you different, because a lot of times people look around and they just look for the cheapest photographer they can find. If you're not differentiating yourself, why choose you? What can they get from you that they're not going to get from anywhere else? That's really important too. I hope that
Yeah,
answered the
I love
question.
that. And I feel like all those were great tips. So I appreciate you sharing that with her. I think it can be hard. Like you said, you're in the weeds, you're posting the content,
Mhm,
you feel like you're doing all the right thing, and we keep hearing that we have to post more, we have to be everywhere, we have to get more visible.
mhm,
But if you're doing all of that and the messaging isn't aligned with the people that you're
mhm,
trying to attract,
mhm,
then you're just going to burn out before you ever
mhm.
even really get a chance to get started. So this is a
Yeah.
very important piece of your business to invest in,
Mhm.
to make sure that the copy and the messaging is what you need it to be. So we do have a member who I'm going to bring on live with us, and I'm going
Okay.
to let her introduce herself and her business, and I'm going to let her ask. Like, we'll just do a 5 minute hot seat coaching Q&A session with her and let her pick your brain for about 5 minutes. Is that
Sure.
okay?
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Amy, I am going to bring you on screen. So let's see. Hi, Amy.
Hey,
Hello.
this has been great. You need me to unmute?
No, you're
No,
good.
you're
We can hear
perfect.
you.
Okay,
Yep.
all right. All
Amy,
right, this has been great.
introduce
Thank you
yourself
very much.
first. Yeah.
Okay, I'm Amy Fulmer, Amy Fulmer Coaching, which is not that original, but, um, and I am a metabolic health coach. So most of my clients come to me for weight loss.
Okay.
Um, so my question, I'm good at doing the transformation part.
Mhm,
Um, you know, But my question is the differentiating, that's like the key. And
mhm.
at what where do you bring that in so that you're not speaking to, oh, you get this and this and this? So how do you, is it more along the lines during your messaging and somewhere in the website, or what do you suggest on
Um,
that?
yeah, I think that you can do that in a lot of different ways, and there's no like one right way. But think about like um, how you're helping your clients, like in your process. Is there something that you're able to get them results faster, maybe because of the way you work, or you're able to get them results that last longer because of the way you work in your process. Sometimes it is something like I'm trying to think of a quick example here, but look at the gap. Like what are other health coaches doing and speaking to and talking about that you see is missing? Is there something missing in your industry that you're doing differently? Or something that you're doing maybe better. And I'm not saying like, go put down all these other health coaches, but just, speaking of like, what are you doing differently? What are you doing better? Why are your clients getting results that last longer or results faster or things like that? And that a lot of times that is how you can kind of figure out that differentiation piece and what makes you different. And then you can speak to that in your content. You can say, this is why my clients get results like this. This is what I'm doing differently. You can introduce some, belief shifting content that changes their perspective. And my perspective is this. Everybody else is saying this, but here's why I think my perspective is, is going to help you get where you want to go. Does that make sense?
Yes, yes. So I
Okay.
know what my factors are. I know
Okay.
why it's different. Um, that isn't being done. So
Mm-hmm.
it was more a question of like how to bring it in
Mm-hmm.
earlier perhaps in the communication,
Okay.
without it being it's because this is XYZ is
Hmm.
what I guess it's not a big deal if the conversation leads that way to
Hmm.
bring that up and just
Yeah, I
start with
wouldn't
the
be afraid
transformation.
to do that. Yeah, I would definitely claim it, own it, like be bold, because that's
Yeah.
what people want to know. They want to know why what's in it for me, what do you do different? Because a lot of times people have probably tried all these other things already, and they're looking for that one person who can get them actual results, who's doing something different. And that's why they're going to choose you, because you are doing different and you have a process that is different, or a perspective that is different. So don't be afraid to own that, because that's really going to speak to
Mhm.
them. And that's what they're looking for, is something that's different than everything I've already tried before, whether it's been, things I tried Googling or DIY, or maybe I've joined other health coach programs before, or worked with somebody before and I didn't quite get the results that I wanted, or it didn't last the way I wanted it to, or it helped me with this, but my energy was still off, or this, it's don't be afraid to own that and speak directly to that, is what I think I would say to you. Does that help?
Great. Thank you. Yes,
So
thank you.
quickly, Amy, for clarity. So is your main question, when should your audience understand what your unique perspectives are? Is it kind of like where in the sales process do you share that? Is that kind of your general question? So
Yes, without it being the laundry list.
yeah. Well, and I'll add to what Melissa said too. So, from a marketing standpoint, you want that to show up in your everyday conversations when you're networking. You want it
Hmm.
to show up in your marketing, in your stories, in your reels. You want to have it on your website. You want to have it in the DMs or the comments, wherever you're showing up. You want to share what makes you different. I feel
Hmm.
like and I don't think it's just women, but I do feel like as women, we are more prone to not wanting to sound bragging or
Hmm.
sound like we are putting down somebody else who doesn't do it the way we do. But if you are not sharing that messaging up front, then when you do get on a sales call, they're not going to truly understand. People have to hear something like 27 times
Hmm.
now before they really understand and get it. So you want to make that sales call even easier by having to explain less and just being able to confirm that this is what they need. And so
Exactly.
I'll go back to what Melissa said, like you want that to be everywhere. There's never a moment that's too early, I promise.
Thank you.
I agree.
You're welcome. Do you have any other questions regarding um like how to address their pain points or how to talk about the transformation or anything like that? Or do you want to share a little bit more about your uniques and we can figure out how to workshop that into like a tagline or something? Or do you want to
Oh
think on that
yeah,
a little
that'd be
bit more?
great.
Yeah.
No,
So
that would be awesome.
yeah. So let's do
Yeah.
that. So tell us what your unique perspective is when it comes to holistic wellness coaching.
All right. Well, one, the body does everything. So addressing foundations, like not adding a whole bunch of stuff like supplements, magic pills until you address the foundations. And it's nervous system first. So when you have to shift out of fight or flight, or your hormones are going to be out of whack in a way that you can't lose the weight. But as far as how I deliver the program, that's different, is it is daily two-way communication with an app. I see everything going on. I see their scale in the morning for their body composition. I know what they've eaten. They can message me throughout the day. I message them every day for the 10 weeks, and it's personal. It's not like an email that they get that's generic, like do this week. So it's very personalized. I use an Aura ring to make sure their sleep is tracking, because we need to address that. So I think what really makes it different, because other people do some of that, but not the daily thing. So like a monthly weigh-in, that's not, it's not addressing the needs daily that they need. Like they had a fight with their spouse, now they're thinking about eating because of that. So they have that I've got 30 years in healthcare. I've got, so it's really being there for them when they need it as they're making changes. Because, like you
Mhm.
said, it needs to be the right person at the right time. This program will help them lose a lot of weight in 10 weeks in a healthy fashion with
Mhm.
real food, not shakes, real science behind it. But I don't want just anybody. It's got to be somebody ready to make a transformation and ready to
Mhm.
say, okay, I don't have to be perfect, but I've got to be willing to learn some new habits for a new life, So,
Mhm.
sorry, I probably told you too much.
That's
No,
okay.
I think that was perfect. I'm gonna let Melissa give her take, and then I might add on a little bit after Melissa provides hers.
Sure. What transformation are they looking for? I would ask first. What are they wanting?
They're wanting confidence and the energy to do the things that they really want to strive for, whether it's be with their kids and play, not worry about going down the rabbit hole, the route that their parents went. They want to look forward to retirement, have that confidence. As far as the weight loss, they're tired of not feeling good when they open their closet and not wanting to go out anymore. And
Hmm.
the biggest thing is having the peace of mind that they actually have a lot more control and not laying in bed at night thinking,
Hmm.
"Oh my gosh, I might have a heart attack. What's going to happen to my kids?" So it's that emotional
Hmm.
transformation. Physically, they want to lose weight most of the time. 15 to 35
Hmm.
pounds is very reasonable in my program in 10 weeks. I mean,
Hmm.
nobody loses less than 15 unless they're doing it for inflammation, blood sugar, or blood pressure, and they
Hmm.
don't want to lose weight.
I like what you said about they want that control over it, because I think a lot of people feel like they don't have control over it, and they try all these things and nothing's working and it's never going to work, and just knowing that they know exactly what they need to do, and if they get off track, or if life happens or the holidays happen and they get off track, just that knowledge and like that they can easily get back on track, and that they have that support. But like that, I think that control is a big thing, because people feel very out of control with their weight and with their health, and with and I've experienced this myself recently with like perimenopause stuff, and just doctors who don't listen and don't actually like care or work with you and figure out the root of the problem. But just knowing that they have somebody in their corner who can help them, and that they don't ever have to feel out of control with this area again, I think is going to be a big thing for you.
Yeah, so I'll bring one more thing up in case you can help me
Hmm.
with the messaging if we have time. So before I even do a free strategy call, they fill out a
Hmm.
300 questions that's just symptoms, things that
Hmm.
the doctors have never asked them, and
Hmm.
finally somebody's listening to them and looking at
Right.
that and seeing what burdens on their body, where the burdens are that they can get the biggest change by addressing with simple lifestyle
Hmm.
strategies. So that's something I probably need to find a different way to say it than
Hmm.
300 questions.
Yeah.
It's pretty fast to fill out, but
Yeah. Hmm.
So I have a quick question about that, Amy. Is that before you said that's before they book a call with you, or is that like after they've paid and now they have like an onboarding with you?
nope, nope. This is before I will accept them as a client. This is a
Okay.
free strategy call. So they fill it out, I look through it, and then we go over it on the call. So they have things they know they can do right up front, even if they don't want to, it's not the right time to work with me. Um, and that way I know
Okay.
if I can help them and I can give them some information.
Yeah. Okay. I've got some ideas, but that's outside of today's call, which is focused on Melissa providing messaging
Yeah, I
support.
think if
But
you
I
I
just
think if
I
you
just
lead
wanted to
with 300
clarify for myself.
300 questions, I think that's going to overwhelm them a little bit, but definitely leading with the outcome of like, why should they fill this out? What's in it for them if they take the time to fill this out? What are they going to get out of it? Like, even just that simple outcome for that, I mean, it doesn't even have to be your main outcome for your program, but even when you're speaking to that strategy call, what's the outcome of that call? And of if they fill out this form, what outcome can they get? Just from that, I guess, is one way you can kind of overcome the 300, you know,
Yeah.
questions.
But and I'll point out
Thank
too, and then
you.
we'll kind of wrap it up. But one of our other members posted in the chat, and she said, "This is Chrissy." She said, "I'm chiming in just because I have here. Let me share it on screen." She said, "I'm chiming in just because I have personally hired a health coach in the past. The reason I chose that person is because they made it very about me, how I would feel if I lost the weight, and what it would personally mean to me." So, you know, putting that back on what are you doing for them. Don't make it about you and your expertise and what you provide. Make it on what is it that they are seeing before working with you? What are things that they've tried that haven't worked? And then what is that core result? And that result, from what I heard, is they go from feeling tired and uncomfortable in their body and frustrated with their health to losing 15 to 35 pounds, gaining steady energy, and then feeling more confident again in their own body through daily support and simple, sustainable changes. So, like, very clearly, you have to paint that picture on your sales page, right? And so that's kind of what Melissa has been kind of sharing through today's strategy is how can you do that? And how do you make sure that the language and the copy and the words, how does it, are those words that your dream client is actually going to use when they're talking to you,
Hmm.
you know? So,
Yep.
Thank you.
And just
awesome.
thinking,
Taking
always
notes.
keeping in mind what's in it for them. What are they going to get out of this? Why should they care? Answering that question in your content, why should they care, can help you go to get to that next layer. And from talking about, deliverables, or from the surface level to the deeper um, transformation.
Thank you.
Love
Super
that.
helpful.
Mhm.
All right. Thank you so much, Amy, for coming on live and
Yes, thank
sharing with
you.
us about your business. And I am excited this will be up so you can rewatch this, Amy, if you want to later. Melissa, thank you so much for
You're
just being
welcome.
present and being supportive in our community, and for being a resource and an expert that these women can turn to when it comes to their copy and their messaging. So I'll make sure that they get the links to your, like, how to reach out to you, what your
Hmm.
offer
Sure.
is, and that'll be listed in our community hub. If you are watching this as a recording, or if you happen to be watching it live, we have a free community for women entrepreneurs who want to grow a business around their life. And we also provide all the tools that you need to launch, grow, and scale your business online. It's called the Grow and Flourish Suite, and we bundle that with our Focus and Flourish Circle, which is our planning membership, where we help you take action every single week in your business with accountability and support. So we would love to have you a part of our free community. All that information is going to be down below. And yeah, we hope to be able to support you inside the Grow and Flourish community. And until next time, we'll see you later.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.